we go.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's Monday. It's Monday. It really is. 7 o'clock. And that can mean only one thing. It's time for Reading the Signs, where me, Comedy John Ryan, and my comedian pals from all over the world are going to be talking about comedy, well-being, why we do it, how we cope. And that's where we need your help. We need you to send us your top tips for well-being. Be part of the show. Drop a comment in the box on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the mensradiostation.com website. It's going to be a great show, much better than last week. What we're trying to do is think exceptional, which, funnily enough, is the motto of WJ, our show sponsors. WJ are the UK's leading road marking and highway maintenance company. They're working with us, we're working with you. Let's get to it. Well, let's start again. Hello. Welcome along to Reading the Signs with me, John Ryan, where every week we try and talk to people from the world of comedy. And there's always something that kind of shows the technical sound and the technical aspect of where things can go wrong and how we best deal with it. How do you deal with things when they go a bit kind of skewedy-whiffy? Skewedy-whiffy is a technical term. I'm sure that if we have any counsellors or practitioners on here, they will agree that's definitely a term. A quick hello to Robert. Robert, you know what? I'm gonna invite you to come on one day. But I might even do it now because I'm just in that sort of mood where I think it's important that we show support for each other and what we do. So I'm going to find you now, Robert, and I'm going to invite you to come join me. But here's the thing. What kind of day are you having? Tell me about it. Leave your comments in the box. Tell me what you've been up to. Are you happy? Are you sad? Have you any good news this week? Any bad news this week? What's happening? What's going on? It's a very wet, rainy, grey day today. And I love it. I'm having a great day. It's been really, really good. I like a bit of dampness. I like the cold. I'm off to the Caribbean this week. Just want to drop that in. It's to work, of course. It's not for any other reason. But I won't enjoy the sunshine and sunbathing like most of the people that I will be experiencing the trip with. However, I will be hiding from the sun and taking care of myself. So today is kind of like my last day of just having a chance to get a little bit of rain and a little bit of grayness. Is that a word, grayness? I don't know. I'm just trying to multitask. Really, not really the best thing to do, I guess. So tell me what you've been up to today. Let us know. Rob, you can start the dialogue, mate. Put your comments in the box while we're waiting to see what's happening with David. He's having a couple of little technical problems at the moment, but you know, it happens. It happens, and it's all about how we deal with it and what we're going to do when we do find that there's a problem. How do you cope? Has anyone got any coping strategies that work for them? Let me know. Let me know what you're thinking and what's going on in your world. It'd be really interesting to find out how other people deal with bad situations and tough times, because we've all got different ways of dealing with stuff. And part of the problem that we have when we're talking about our well-being is that things that work for us may well work for other people, but we don't always know because we don't always try to find a way of sharing it and communicating. And unfortunately, you know, let's be honest, especially for us lads, we're not the best in the world at communicating, are we? It doesn't have to be that way, of course. You can quite easily change the way that you behave. You can change your thought process. You can change anything, really, but you've just got to kind of be willing to do it, I guess. If anyone has any tips or any ideas on what works for them or what they think may work for other people, then do let me know. Drop a little comment in there. Robert's been watching his local football youth team. Okay. You sponsor a football team. That's in Mallorca or somewhere, isn't it? I can't actually remember. I'm sure it's somewhere like that. I'm trying to find you on Facebook, mate, so that I can invite you to come along. But let's see if I can find you another way. Anyone else been watching the football today? I don't know what's been going on. I think there was a big game going on in Leeds, but I won't kind of mention it in case upsets Ashley, who's listening at the moment on LinkedIn. But why not? Why not mention it, Ashley, eh? Why not? Why can't we just have a little bit of banter Robert, I've just sent you an invite. If you're about, if you want to come along, then just click on it and let me know. If not, no pressure. So it's an interesting time, isn't it, this time of year? Because we're out of the kind of Christmassy thing. We're heading towards spring. We're heading towards the longer evenings, a little bit of sunshine, a bit more daylight. It's always good for people to have a bit of extra sunlight for the old vitamin D and also to feel good. What's fascinating me at the moment, though, is how everyone's coping with this whole post-lockdown thing. I was in Spain and Portugal last week, and everyone in Spain and Portugal still wearing the masks. But in this country, it's like it never actually happened. And I don't know why that is. Robert, I've just sent you an invite. If you would like to go into your messenger and click on it, you can come on and have a little chat. That would be great if you're about. If not, don't worry about it. But it is tough times for people. It's, life can be hard, 21st century modern living. I don't know if it's any harder, though, than it would have been when we were living in a state of nature, living in caves, living in sort of primordial times. I don't know, would anyone like to swap modern living for living back in the day, even in Victorian England? I've often thought it would have been nice to live in the roaring 20s because I love the whole kind of black and white film all around the piano, wearing tuxedos. But I guess I probably would have been working down a mine or up a chimney. So maybe not quite the best time that I could have lived in. If anyone else has got a particular time in history that works for them that they would have liked to have lived in, just let me know. Put your comments in the little box. Let's see what we can come up with. You can obviously always listen to us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. If you get a chance, give us a little follow on YouTube. That would be really good. So what I'm going to do is, while I'm waiting to see if David is able to get online, I thought we'd just have a little chat, really, just generally about the whole concept of well-being and what it is. Because we talk about it on mensradiostation.com and also on the sister station, Women's Radio. I don't know how much longer we're going to have men's radio station and women's radio station. I've got to really talk to Russ about this. If we can have some kind of gender-neutral station A, station B. But then I guess that would create a hierarchy. Station 1, station 2. It's so complicated, this, isn't it? If anyone's got any suggestions for how we can rename. I came on here to talk to David Allison, and there he is, and now I'm renaming the radio station. So let me tell you a little bit quickly, very quickly, about the problem that we have with well-being, and then we'll get David on. And it's a simple thing. I want you to understand that we don't really know what well-being looks like and what mental illness looks like. And it can be anything from mates cancelling plans at the last minute, or thinking they're a burden, or people that eat too much, too little, being emotionally distant. Sometimes people need constant reassuring. The thing is, it's all about being patient and trying to understand and not judge. Because one of the big problems people have with well-being is that they are judged. And it's a difficult thing. This is kind of my really cack-handed way of making a segue about people being judged and then introducing our guest. Our guest this week does one of the best live interactive game shows that I've ever been part of, and certainly that I've ever seen. Really, it should be all over the television. If there's any justice in the world, there would be. I've known David Allison probably for about 10 years now. He's a good guy. He's very interesting because he's very open and very honest. He's been very supportive of everything that I do as well, so I quite like that. And he's a dad. It's always good to talk to other dads to see if there's any tips we can pick up and share. So, if at all possible, I'd like to welcome onto tonight's program David Allison. There you go, mate. How's that?
Good.
Oh, it worked straight away.
I'm here. Yes. Good to be
you
here.
got on the bus all right in the end.
Oh, I got yes. It was well, there was few of them. There were less. It's Sunday, isn't it? And so I was just watching the Man United game with my son, and I misjudged. But anyway, I'm here.
That's right. Yeah,
We won.
Okay. Well, that's the most important thing, mate.
I've just lost a load of possible support, haven't I?
No, not at all. Not at all. Very non-judgmental, yeah. Non-judgmental. What have you been up to today, then, apart from watching the football? Is that's taken up the whole time, is it?
Well, not really. I mean, that takes up 90 minutes, doesn't it? I've not done a lot. I've not done a lot.
You say that. So tell us about yourself, mate. Where did you fit in the siblings? You got brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I've got a brother, younger brother, 1 year younger. He's in New Zealand. We're close.
That's
We're
nice.
close. It's good. We're close, but we're far away.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him for quite some years now. Like 5 years or something. He's got kids, and but yeah, no, I've love for my brother. He might be watching. I don't know whether.
Well, if he is, I'm sure he's probably very proud of you. What was you like as a kid? Were you clever? Were you lively? Were you difficult?
Well. So 2 years ago, I got a diagnosis of having ADHD, which I must have always had that, and so, but it was managed, or yeah. So as a kid, I was bright, did well at school, and not seemingly having any challenges or problems with, the good things of ADHD. I recognize served me then. But then,
What's ADHD, man? What can you tell us about it?
Brain thinking quicker than just being messy in the brain, really. So running away with ideas, not noticing social cues or just being at a different speed at times.
Yeah.
And I got into problems when I lost the structure of a full-time job, and I hadn't realized how important that was. It kept me on track. And so, I'm very energetic, very determined to do things, try things. And I was very fortunate that I've always had a family that supported planning and organizing calendars and stuff like that. That's a weakness. That's a thing.
But how then? So because you got to understand that back in the day there was normal, wasn't there, and there was abnormal. And I think now we're looking more at neurodiversity and accepting people's differences. But how does being diagnosed ADHD? How does that affect you as a child? When you was a kid, did you feel different to other kids, or was there?
Yeah, but not problematically. I just, I'd quite a. I was doing well, so, and I had a cushion. Yeah, I had a cushion. I wasn't unruly. It wasn't hyperactive, unruly in class type thing. I could focus as well. I can properly, intensely focus, and that's one of the misconceptions of it. Inability to give attention. Absolutely can, but it might not be on the right things. It might not be on what everyone else considers is normal attention giving. So yes, easily distracted, but it made me creative or searching to do something different.
Yeah. Were you academic? Were you successful at school?
Yeah. Well, I studied law, so I went to uni and got a 2:1 law degree, but it became very clear doing the job of a lawyer wouldn't suit. It
Right.
would. It's understood what that actually mostly involves. It's not the TV glamorous stuff of arguing in court for most lawyers.
Yeah.
And so yeah, early on in doing my degree, I joined the TV Society, which was, I could get hold of cameras and stuff and make films, and got into the idea I wanted to make films, videos, or tell stories. And so that's what I left uni pursuing, was a career in television.
In television, not law. Or did you want to do television law?
television. I just abandoned law, as in, you know, when I left, you know, forgot about law, and then it came back like 10 years later towards making a comedy show involving it.
Okay.
So there's no regrets.
No, that's. I mean, you know what? You should. I like that. People shouldn't live life with regrets. I'm interested because I've mentioned a few times on the show that as a kid I was called maladjusted because right there was no ADHD and all those diagnoses of stuff then. Then I was told I was Aspergic, and so I'm quite happy to be left on my own. So I could being a lighthouse keeper would have been my fantasy job, and I still think and it's part of the reason why I can travel the world and I'm very self-sufficient. So I will go, especially like if I work on a ship, I can quite happily spend a day on my own on deck reading a book without. Right. So these labels that we were given didn't necessarily help me. They just made other people go, all right, well, he's a bit Aspergian.
Yeah. I mean, when I eventually got diagnosed, I had to go back to my parents and ask them to fill in questionnaire to, they didn't believe there was a problem, and the reason I was diagnosed, I didn't go looking for it. My GP suggested it because I was having problems, and there were problems. I wasn't managing how I was trying to run my life, and I think it was very sadly my marriage with the mother of my children, our children, that broke down.
Was that to do with your ADHD, do you think?
Yeah, totally.
You're comfortable talking about this, right?
Yeah. I am, yes, because I've got ADHD, and we just, impulsive and just go out and think, not really think about it. That's but yeah, I got into bad habits of drinking a lot in the afternoon.
But is that your ADHD, or is that just that you like drinking in the afternoon?
No, it's because it is the ADHD, because I need to calm down.
Ah, right, okay.
And so, and it worked. It helped. I had things I needed to do. I had deadlines, or and I was looking after the kids.
Right. Are you okay with deadlines, or do you struggle to conform and do things conventionally?
Deadlines are essential. I will meet the deadlines, but if I don't have deadlines, if I don't have something structure imposed upon me I will leave it to the last minute, every time. But this was the problem emerging, because I left a full-time job, took a voluntary redundancy, a full-time job, ideas for a new business, and with the comedy shows that I was doing, and sort of went out on my own.
Yeah.
But I've got no one telling me what I need to do by when. I'm quick responsive, but not so structure. So I was panicking, and it's a common thing of ADHD, that self-medicating before diagnosis. Finding ways to try and level up, slow down, meet responsibilities. Otherwise, I've got so many different things spinning around, and so.
But see, I think, like anything, what people have to understand is that you can get a label or you can get diagnosed with something, but it's how you live with it rather than seek a cure. because this thing about
manage.
Yeah, and I funny enough, I did one of the workshops I did this week. I got into a conversation with a guy who was saying he wants a cure for his daughter who suffers from depression, and I'm like, look, I'm not a touchy feely counselly kind of guy, so I'm saying to him, she suffers, but she lives with depression. It's part of her journey, right? They went, yeah, but they should be. We're working on cures for cancer. Why can't we work on a cure for depression? And I was saying that, like, diversity is how nature evolves, it's how evolution works, right? I'm a big believer in Darwinism and Lamarckism. So you would go that, we have like opposable thumbs for a reason. So we accept our physical differences are due to, environment and necessity. But what if it is? So what if we're actually all meant to have ADHD, and it's yourself and other people with ADHD are actually normal or usual?
Well, it's more the way that I've been told of it. The diversity, neurodiversity. There's a reason for everyone. There's a purpose. There's a So God, it would be an absolute nightmare if everybody was ADHD. They're not. It would be a nightmare if everyone was depressed. They're not. It would be a nightmare if everyone had, but there are, it's what's believed with studies, if it wasn't for those with ADHD in prehistoric times or whatever, experimenting, trying out eating an egg of a dinosaur or whatever, if they didn't do it, we are the people who would do it, or we would go further or take a chance, whereas there's other people are cautious. And
see, mate, I love this conversation, right? I love this conversation because this is my argument all the time with people. I remember one of my sons, he realized when he went up for school dinner that you got your main course and your dessert, and you could sit and eat. You could have the dessert first. Now, the dessert was his favorite part, so he would have it first, okay? Then he would eat the main course. And we got called into the school, and the teacher said, like, he can't do that. And because,
Yeah, why? I love him. I love him. Yes, that's...
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I would say, well, why can't he? Well, because there's rules and there's order, and we need to do things a certain way, right? And I said, but how's it causing a problem? She went, it's causing a problem because all the other kids are copying him, and they're all having their dessert first, and they don't finish their main courses, right?
Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. And he's very, very creative. He makes music. He's very talented, right? But his thought process, very caring, but his thought processes are not dissimilar to. They're like mine, mate. It's like, and sometimes the teacher will be saying, "But he does this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I used to do that. I used to do that. I can see that. I want to climb that tree. My other boy, you put a tree in front of him, he ain't climbing the tree. But this one, he has to climb the tree. And it's that thing about we're all different. And that diversity means that we evolve as a tribe, surely.
We learn from each other's actions. We can, someone's going to observe the idiot who is trying this out and making a mistake, and then they'll go, right, well, we learned from that. And sorry, sorry that Dave died trying to get across the river on that piece of wood or whatever. But we've all learned from it, and so we've progressed. But there's always needing to be that idiot to, and wonder what will happen if I do this. And so, I mean, I definitely have relate to challenging rules. This is why, I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but studying law, choosing to study law, was I was drawn to it more to just to question what I love philosophical arguments. I love debate, and I am just naturally a pedantic devil's advocate and said, but what if you did do this or not? And so that's been my a theme that I've always had, and so that has that led to me making documentaries and led to exploring things, asking questions about stuff. You know, I'm interested.
Yeah, I'll go with that. So then, tell us about the. This is your trial thing. What was the first thing you came up with when you started creating?
First thing when it started creating, it was probably a sandcastle. It was probably some kind of. I mean, I used to play Subbuteo as a kid, and
Oh, mate, what was your team?
Well, I made a team
Yeah,
from a Coventry kit,
brilliant.
and I doctored every single player. So I used like little bits of blue tack and to give a belly for the keeper, painting the hair differently. So I personalised a Subbuteo team, and that was my team, McTavish Rovers. And so I've actually got it.
Wow.
I'll show you later.
Wow.
But yeah, so loved playing Subbuteo. My dad was a Subbuteo fan, player, you know, and I've never beaten him. Never.
Shocking.
After all this time. And so, yes, creating always.
Yeah, always doing something.
But I invented a TV show first in about 20 years ago, and that was an idea that came out of a job application for NTV, and didn't get that job, but the application required some script writing and idea for a thing.
Okay.
And managed to make that into a TV show, and that was a funny TV show called Pot Will Shoot Itself, and it was taking the piss out of, or telling the story of music videos, classic music videos. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Pot Will Shoot Itself. Yeah, there's 20 episodes, and that was incredible. I was just working with my mates, essentially, and it wasn't a big budget, but it was a lot for us at the time. And it was like at the time of my life making that. And I thought, right, I've made it. I'm going to be a TV executive, and then it didn't quite work that way. But the comedy came as a hobby idea. My friend was running open mic nights, and I'd not really been to them, and I was just fascinated about how much talent there often was.
Yeah.
And him saying, no, they don't get paid. I said, what? And I often, whenever I went to live comedy nights, would end up being, let's say, picked on. I mean, I volunteer myself.
Yeah.
And I like it. And so I would go to comedy nights for birthday celebrations and want to be on stage in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And then my idea was, I wonder how to make a comedy show that's tailored to somebody being the center of attention. A private comedy show. And then a couple of steps later, but we did a quiz, did one for me, a quiz type thing. Two of my mates competing, had a comedian on each side. It was a panel show thing, see who is my best mate by answering questions, challenges about me. And that there was something in that. And then where I was working, University of Law, I had access to a wig, and
that's just brilliant. That just sounds like you, mate. There's me thinking you spent hours away in a bungalow in the Lake District with loads of. Actually, you could get a wig.
Yeah.
Mate,
so it was I could get access to a wig, and so I gave that put the quiz master, so the next time doing the quiz, this is your laugh. So, it started off being called This Is Your Laugh. And then think, oh, it's actually a trial. So it's putting the birthday person on trial.
Yeah.
And having the person emceeing, hosting, they're a judge. And then, so it evolved pretty quickly. And it just was so like, God, was no one else doing this? This works, putting.
Yeah.
And then it was only when going to Edinburgh for the first time, which was 5 private shows.
Yeah.
I got access or experience of good, better comedians. And they didn't, I was writing shitloads of notes, to give to comedians about whoever's on trial, loads of research beforehand and da. When you get good comedians, they don't need it. They don't want it. They actually don't want it. And so, oh God, that's made my job easier.
Yeah. The thing was, for people listening, it's a great concept where you get someone who basically gets roasted, and someone will be accused of being having really poor fashion sense, and then someone defends them, and there's a prosecutor who gives reasons as to why they should be found guilty of appalling fashion sense or whatever. And the fun comes from very much exchanges between the two legal people on stage, and you get to wear a wig and dress up. I mean, I've done a few, but one that I particularly remember was in Edinburgh with a very, very funny Australian comic that she was part of a two-hander.
Oh, Natalie. It'll be Natalie or Amy. Yeah.
And after about because I'm not a very, I can be rude or aggressive, but generally in life, I'm not. And as the show progressed, she was getting more and more aggressive towards me and digging me out more than the people that we're representing. And then I had to then quickly go, hang on, right, so now the audience are laughing because you're slapping me down every time.
Yeah.
Okay. But I then had to try to slap her down, but then want to go, I'm really sorry, I don't actually mean that. Right. But I know. But it was just, I found it really uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't want to say anything horrible about you, but you just told them that my head's so big that my wig, it looks like a merkin. And
well, that's it. There's a jeopardy, always a jeopardy that where's the line? And this is, comedians talking about a stranger that's come from the audience that's put on trial. It's like, how far to go, and given whatever information. I mean, everyone is there for laughs. It's not. There's not a. I mean, I do a lot of flyering and talking to people.
Yeah, you do really work it, mate. I'll give you that. You're very passionate about it.
But they often, people who have never heard of it, say, oh God, I don't want to be on trial. I don't want to be picked on. No one gets picked on. No one gets picked on. The mechanism is members of the audience can accuse each other. So they fill in a slip. They make a accusation. And it's often, often it's bullshit. We do quite a lot of stag trials, so they're one angle. But then there's the family friendly ones as well. Yeah. And so
didn't you pitch it as a kids show? Did that work?
It was a TV show. It was a kids show. It was a TV show. It's on CBBC. I think you can see it on iPlayer now. It's called Monster Court. So that's the judge is a puppet. Judge Smudge.
And then what's your input in that? What's your role in that?
It was it's a bit of a sore topic. It was based on my concept, so I got paid for that. But I didn't really work on it. I was involved with meetings because this was under lockdown.
Yeah.
And so I had some I mean, I knew the production company. Well, I was signed up with the production company, and I know different people working on it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I wasn't that influential in how the TV episodes were.
Mate, I've been there. They take an idea and then they turn it into when I did a kids TV show where we had to write adventures, and so your adventure would be, say, if you think in terms of Goldilocks goes to the woods, finds the cottage, finds the porridge, finds a chair, finds a bed, gets chased home, they go, right, that's great, but instead of her finding the cottage, how about she goes on a ship, and not on her own, but with her two friends. Okay. And then the ship sinks and they end up in shark infested waters. And I'm like going, hang on, no, look, yeah, just take this thing, the Goldilocks story, and you do what you want with it. If you just give me that money for that. And I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
They lose the essence of what it's actually about.
Yeah. There was different occasions of so the show when it's live, it's improvised. The conclusion of whether someone's guilty or not is decided by the audience, and it's almost, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, who's winning. It's not about that. So, prosecutor and defense, comedians, they are competing, but they're on the same team to make it funny. Work with the judge, it's about comedy, involving as many people in the room as possible. When it came to the TV thing, and so I was part of meetings and talking about, whether we put this kid on trial or this parent on trial in Zoom meetings. I mean, it was all kind of Zoom meetings. Determining the result before it was argued out. And this is, and maybe, TV they want to anticipate guilty, not guilty, and have there was quite, what really annoyed me was the emphasis of what prize or, to give to the kids. It was all about that. It's like, how do we get to this conclusion? It's like, well, how have you decided what's going to happen? And the judge, there was no prosecutor, no defense. The judge, Dan Clarkson, brilliant. He gets it. He knows, so his improv was excellent. Totally would trust him. But there was just this weight or overwhelming production management type thing to shape the results. And then, and the panic or the worry, you can't say that, you can't, we haven't, of course you can, and you can edit it out if it's, but the edgy bit was, so that was frustrating.
How do you find then, if you're working, because I've always found working with television people very, very frustrating, because as performers, we read a room, work a room, and understand that works, that doesn't work. But then you get in front of someone who's never performed and they understand the structure. It's like you watch the football today, but you couldn't actually really manage Man United, right? But, and it's that difference, isn't it? It's that people lacking the experience or the understanding of what an audience wants.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a performer. I don't.
No.
I mean, I've had to, but I do, there's I have conversations with, all of the comedians at different times, and you're all basket of different, odd jobs, and what do you call it? What's the what do they do it in the supermarkets? Imperfect fruits. And trying to navigate that, and so I hear opinion about the shows that have just happened oh, well, from individual comedians. Oh, this should have happened, or this should have happened, and this. And I think I'm pretty experienced now of diplomatically, and I take a lot on of a lot of criticism on for whether I should have booked that person or that person and not. And but you know, I understand it. There's so many methods and arguments, and you know what wins an audience, what an audience wants, and I've seen enough of them for my show. I cannot criticize or judge the experience of.
No, I do see that. I see that, but like it's when I use people to do talks for me, and I'll listen to their input. But when it comes to the actual bones of it, I'll tell you where to go at what time, what to do, and you have to stay for this amount of time afterwards. You then go and deliver your talk within the remit of what I'm doing. But, you know, I'm a great believer in he who pays the piper picks the tune. And I think sometimes comics, as creatives and as kind of a little bit wayward, it's a structure and a discipline.
Yeah, and if I'm to be honest, I'm not very bullish, or I think part of the success of evolving This Is Your Trial has been my ease to trust and just see what happens. I know, and you know, I make notes. I have adapted things afterwards, but I'm not a very strict director of anything. It's just like, you know, and so I've experienced a lot of these variances that all of the individuals who've ever performed it, they haven't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. I get it. So then you've got these you've got this kind of manic, almost active personality and brain running around. You're used to kind of producing and directing, so kind of being in charge. How did you cope with lockdown? What was that like?
I loved it. Loved it.
What a brilliant answer, mate. Brilliant. What did you love about it?
Well, and this is something that I found was shared with lots of the people that I know now in the ADHD WhatsApp groups. I mean, that is a thing. It's a beast. Can you imagine? You know, there's 250 people with ADHD in a WhatsApp group, and there's so many subsections and other conversations. It's quite overwhelming at times, but this seemed to be a commonly reported thing because lockdown narrowed choices of what you can do.
Right.
That's really good for people with ADHD like me that you know, often said magpies or squirrels, you know, just like react to the next thing and leaping around, jumping to the next exciting attraction. So if there's less of that, we focus better. And that's what I mean. I lost when, you know, first lockdown, when it first came about. Oh my God, I had so many cancellations. I mean, you know it, John. But you know, cancellations. I mean, I was going to go to India to develop this franchise of trial there and do some training courses there. I had multiple bookings of the show lined up. Fortunately, the kids' TV show, the Monster Court thing, that came through then, so that gave me a little cushion of income, but had to really rethink everything, and then but put it online. So I managed to get Next Up are amazing. They got a trial show online, and got some support with them. They did a fundraising thing to support people like us, and so yeah, I can't say enough positive things about Next Up. I don't know if people know that. But then I invented another few concepts that that I could then do online through whatever channels, and I'm really chuffed about them. So we created a comedy auction show. Sounds Like and Stick Note. So these are three brand new. I mean, they're not dissimilar in some ways. They're all,
but you can't reinvent. You've got to reinvent the wheel. You can't be innovative all the time, and you can't constantly.
Yes, I can, John.
That's the old David, not the new one. But it's that thing of it's got to be along a similar line, isn't it? So when you listen to a Rolling Stones song, you know that's the Rolling Stones because there's a brand to it. Oasis. There's a brand to it, isn't it? McIntyre. If you watch him, his jokes are set. It's brand, isn't it? So it's got to be about that. What's next then for you? Then is it going to continue to be just producing or taking over the world or?
Oh, no, focusing right now. So I had a real turn of luck with a guy, Rob Islands. So he's in Manchester and he runs a murder mystery things. He's been very successful doing those for stag do's.
Right.
So he got in touch. Laugh and Let Die is his company, but he approached me. We hit it off. We're very different, perfectly different to complement, I think, each other's style. So so then he has put courtroom roast or comedy. We call it CRR, and it's in comedy, whatever. It's become hugely popular with stag do's. That so we're listed on Chili Sauce, big website, and then a couple of others. And literally, I've got like 60 of them lined up before August.
Brilliant. Yeah.
This is now bread and butter. And having performed, because when I first started doing them, it was all. I did stag do's, but it wasn't viable because 3 comedians, stag do's, 15 people. How much are they going to pay?
Yeah,
it was over. Yeah. But then I performed one as a prosecutor, and there was 2 comedians as defense and judge, and I was redundant because the stags, they're doing the prosecuting. It's different. It's a different show. And
it's just like comparing, isn't it? You're then just the conduit to kind of.
Well, I'm not needed. So the key thing was these shows, stag trials, just need two comedians, judge and a defense. So that makes it more viable to pay everyone and get bookings. And so we've been getting bookings for that, and so that's been great. And so I'm actually more approaching it business wise, as it, and it's not. I think previously it was like chasing the glamour.
Yeah.
And so now need to adapt and put the effort into the getting private corporate bookings for them, because it bloody works every time. And so, but rather than me trying to sell tickets individually for each of the shows, just get them bought individually as a show.
I see it. So I always like to find out if anyone's got a a tip that works for them that they think could help other people if, people are feeling a bit flat or a bit down or finding life hard? Is there anything that works for you? You think you could suggest that maybe would help other people?
Dexamphetamine.
Okay.
I mean, this is medication that I get prescribed, but that's the effect of that. The effect of that, just for me, to slow down, listen better, listen more. But I think there's lots of techniques.
Though, mate, if you're all right, I think I would stick with that, because you're the first person to suggest medication. Because most people, it's all about hug a tree, go for a walk, swim in a river, but actually, don't be scared of medication.
No, absolutely not. No. I think it's no. You're right. It's I mean, even with the ADHD crew or whatever, there's some are hesitant about it, or they might just be the drugs do work, or if an expert, a doctor don't distrust them. I mean, we've had it, haven't we, over the last couple of years with with vaccines and the distrust of stuff. It's like, oh God, there's a lot of. So I'm diabetic as well. So I have always since I was 14 when I was diagnosed diabetic, but I've had medication that's kept me alive since then, and so I'm less distrustful. But I am grateful that I'm trustful, because it has changed how I respond and act, and I've slowed down. Slowing down and listening is and making sure other people know that you're listening. It's so fundamental, I think, and certainly for men, because men don't generally. I mean, I've been guilty of banging on about myself, which I have in this whole.
No, mate, that's what you're here for, and it's great to have you. What fascinates me, though, is that when I listen, I'll look at you and listen. What I hate, though, is it called reflective listening? An organisation I worked in once. I was go, okay, I hear what you're saying. Active listening. Okay, I hear what you're saying. What you're saying is medication is good. Yeah, but all right, stop repeating what I'm saying. Okay, I understand. You want me to stop? Because you're really winding me up. All right, I'm sensing tension. Like, ugh! So that's always a difficult one.
It is, and it seems so contrived.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I've had that experience with my kids when my partner, my ex, she knows she's super good, and so training techniques of active listening, it's powerful, because I'm realized that I wasn't getting response from my kids at different ages that I thought was due, or but I wasn't giving them response appropriately, because and partly because of my ADHD, and because I'm moving too quick. That taking that little bit of extra time to essentially active listening is just repeat what you've just heard from someone and demonstrate you're listening. And the change I experienced immediately with interactions with my kids was immense. And I thought, oh my God, it's like magic. I've just said, rather than giving because this is what I think is a very male to give a problem. So if your kid comes to you and says, "Oh, this is shit. Don't want to do this or something," rather than going, "If you do it," rather than coming up with a solution response, to say, "Oh, that does sound," agree with them. That does sound like shit. And so what and just repeat what they've just told you. And
just be present, be in the moment. Well, mate, listen, that's the end of our hour. That's really flown by, but I'll give you a shout in a bit anyway.
Yeah.
But thanks ever so much for giving up some of your time. It's been very insightful. I particularly love the fact that you're saying about don't fear the medication, and you're also willing to come out and go, yeah, I've been diagnosed as ADHD as an adult. And it's that level of honesty and openness. That's all we can ask for.
That's all I've got. That's all I've got, John.
That's all I've got, mate. That's it.
Yeah.
You take care. We'll speak soon.
All right. Love your job. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye. That was David Allison. It's just incredible. Very, very interesting man to talk to. If you get a chance to check out thisisyourtrial.com or just type David Allison producer into Facebook, there's loads of really interesting stuff on there about him. What fascinated me talking to him was that his honesty to say that I've been diagnosed with ADHD as an adult. It's not going to define him. It's actually something then that can help him make sense of how and why he is the way he is, which is like what all of us hope to do, really, isn't it? We all want to know, well, why do I think like that? And why don't other people think like that? I thought his top tip for well-being, quite superb. Yeah, don't fear medication. As he said, he's a diabetic. He takes his medication for diabetes. So why wouldn't you take medication for anything else that you needed help with? Very often nowadays, we forget the tremendous strides and help that modern medicine has made. We like to think, oh, no, it's all there to sustain symptoms, but not actually to cure. But sometimes there is no cure. Sometimes you just need something to help you along your way. Great bit of advice there from David. What's fascinating for me, though, is that each week my guests come on here, and some of the tips they come out with, I think they're really good. James Dowswell talks about just keep going. If you believe in what you do, just keep going. Griff Griffiths said, get a dog, go out walking. Very practical advice. Susie Bennett felt that keeping away from toxic people. Just with those things there. Jeff Schumann, of course, talks about keeping busy and talking to people. It's all these little things are going to help us in some way. If there's something that works for you that you think might help other people, then let us know. You can always pop your comments in the box, or you can always send me a message if you don't really want people to know who you are. Do keep listening to all the shows on mensradiostation.com and womensradiostation.com because there's some great stuff on there. There are practitioners and clinicians on there who can give you, proper practical advice. But more importantly, you know that there's somebody listening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is a show on there that will be willing to take you on for a comment, for a conversation. If you do find yourself in trouble and you need help and support, as always, I'm going to refer you to Time to Change, who are a great organisation who have lots of information on their website, timetochange.org.uk. And of course, Mind. Mind are a phenomenal organisation who are all about raising awareness, offering practical advice and offering help. As always, I want to take the moment to thank the WJ Group, the UK's leading road marking experts, for their continued support of not just the show, but of raising awareness of mental well-being, helping to get the conversation going and helping to keep the conversation out there. I'll be back next Monday at 7:00 with another fascinating guest. Hopefully you'll all come along. In the meantime, stay safe.
Well, that's the end of another episode of Reading the Signs with me, Comedy John Ryan. We're here every Monday night at 7 p.m. talking with comedians about mental wellness, mental well-being, and just trying to get the conversation going. What we're trying to do is show that it's good to talk, and we're also trying to show that everybody can go through the same experiences. A massive thank you to the WJ Group who sponsored the show, showing their commitment not just to mental well-being, but also to reaching as broad an audience as possible. It's great to be part of the mensradiostation.com family, so do check us out on the website, on social media. We'll be back next Monday. You take care. Stay safe, everybody.